And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, as you can see, on cricket.com for yet another watch along. It's Monday Blues, pun intended in this case, with India women taking on the Irish women. And India, of course, batting first, something they haven't done all tournament. And boy, haven't they batted well. I mean, at least some would say 155 for 6 is what they could muster after their 20 overs. I'm Avnish Hegde. I'm absolutely knackered after my gym session, the swim session, cycling, and whatnot. And on my right, I have Vaishali, who's turned a year wiser. So happy birthday. Guys, wish her in the comments as well and show us some love. And like this video if you really want to, of course, wish Vaishali. How was your birthday?
It was all nice.
Yeah? What did you do?
I did celebrate this time in a different way. I always wanted to do this, so
Yeah.
I've been to an orphanage
Mhm.
and celebrated my day with them.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I kind of gave them a party, and it was so pleasing to the eye, seeing the happiness in their eyes, like the love was unconditional.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how
I mean, it was. I mean, I just got a glimpse of it on her Insta story. If you guys follow her on Instagram, you should, because it was a touching thing to bring in someone's birthday. I used to normally give clothes to the old age home or newspapers, but it's a good gesture that you've done. What's your plans for this year? Because another year wiser, lots more cricket, I'm guessing.
Yes, a lot more cricket. Hopefully, a lot more things with cricket.com, and go up and seeing World Cup trophies.
Yeah, yeah.
Wherever we participate.
Now, there are of course two World Cups. This one, which we're going to be, of course, talking about, and not to forget the ODI World Cup, which we'll of course do at some point in time.
Yeah.
But so far, just talking about this match, what's impressed you? I know there's been a shuffle in terms of the team yet again. There was a shuffle in the batting order, but 155 for 6 against Ireland. Would you take that?
Honestly, I was expecting to go much more, but then looking at the pitch, it looks like it was, kind of slow. It wasn't coming on to the bat properly. Initially, batter struggled. So even Smriti's innings, if you divide it into the parts, you'll find out that before 50, she wasn't able to accelerate because she was just getting the hang of the pitch. The ball wasn't coming nicely to the bat. But then after she reached the 50, she read the pitch right, and then she was able to make the shot selection right. So that's what differentiated her from every other batter today. She was able to score big runs after, and she was able to accelerate also. She has batted somewhere, I think, 155 strike rate. So that was a good point. But apart from her, I think everyone else struggled. Even Shefali couldn't do big today. Even you talk about Harmanpreet couldn't do big. So that's the problem we have seen. But hopefully 155 on this difficult pitch, I think our seamers will gonna love bowling here.
Yeah.
Both of them, Renuka and Shikha Pandey, because there's a lot of seam movement we can see and a lot of breeze around there. So it would be difficult for Ireland. So we definitely gonna win it.
Yeah.
But then I was expecting much more score.
Yeah, we're all greedy that way as cricket fans. And speaking of the bowlers, let's introduce the guests for this evening, of course. Not one, but two. Anirudh, first and foremost. And person making a debut is Radha as well. Radha, great to see you. And, oh my God, it's a full house. It's almost like playing a game of poker where the river and the flush opens up. I don't know who to start with. I'll come to Ani in just a bit, who's our stats man, who's buzzing for this game, of course. But let's, of course, talk to the debutant in Radha first. Radha, good to see you on cricket.com for the first time. How are we this evening, especially considering we're 155 for 6 and we're going to get the 2 points, safe to say?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and that warm introduction. Well, I'm doing very well. It was a little bit of a slow burn of a first innings. We'd expect more, I think, as we just heard before this. But yeah, we're very confident in our bowlers to get the job done.
Absolutely. I mean, Rekha Singh, of course, coming on the back of that fifer. And like Vaishali alluded to, there is, of course, good overhead conditions for the Indian Pacers to exploit. Let's go to Nix before I just, of course, ask Ani about some numbers that we've seen in the first innings. Nix, how are we? Have you taken some sort of a haircut or you've got some sort of a hairdo? Because it's looking slick, all right?
As long as it's looking good, I'm fine with it. I still don't feel Ireland had Mandana as their captain today, which is nothing else explains the love that they had for her, because it bizarre. It just reminded me of another game where an Indian batter got so many lives against a team in green and got out in the 80s. So we all know celebrate that knock a lot, but it is what it is. You have to make the most of what you get. So of course, can't fault Mandana for trying. I think that is something that was very evident. She saw Shefali struggling, and so she was always the aggressor that, okay, I'll take the risk. It's okay if it doesn't come off. And it literally did not come up for the first like 10-15 hours. It was only past once she got past 50 that she had put enough pressure then on the bowling to start giving her the bad balls, and they
Yep.
came. And I think one thing to highlight, she used the wind very smartly. Whenever the wind was going across, she was very smart and said that, okay, now with the wind, let me go this side because I'll be able to clear the field that well. So, however, huffed and puffed and tongued and lugged the way to this score. Now, hopefully, a good start, and then let's see.
Absolutely. I think Smriti Mandhana, I mean, her high score, there could be a run out straight away. There is. There's a wicket. It's already entertaining. I was just going to tell you to sync your streams through with us. So, of course, you guys can join us with your insights. And Hunter, it's absolute hullabaloo out there. It's a good opportunity to bring Anirudh into the stream right now. Sorry, man. I was just kind of looking down at the screen. What has happened? Okay, man, we had the benefit of the replay. It's schoolgirl cricket, Anirudh? I mean, surely is. I mean, there was never two there. She looks a little bit like a rabbit in front of the headlights. But India got the wicket. That's all that we can care about. Smriti Mandhana, right? 87, her highest score. Is that the most fluent you've seen her bat in a while?
No way.
No?
No way. It's asking like how Nikhil mentioned. No, it's asking Sachin Tendulkar was your 2011 semi-final one of the fluent games.
Yeah.
That's obviously.
So there was obviously an element of luck, but some of the stroke play, the fact that she's conjured up a highest T20 international score, there's something to it we can pick out of, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously yes. It was one of her good innings. I wouldn't even say best innings because you're used to seeing Smriti's amazing innings.
Yeah.
Even in the recent Australia series when she was smacking the ball like anything, like you won't see as fluent a batter. You can see in
So I
women's
think
cricket.
you can differentiate in a way to say that it was not her most fluent inning, but
Yeah.
what makes it different from others is that where everyone struggled, she was able to make runs.
Yeah.
So that is something which is making the innings one of the best for her.
And like Nick said, she was using the wind when we can see the wind evidently on our screens right now. Rather, what impressed you about India's innings with the bat? Of course, they were looking for an opportunity to bat first the first time this tournament, and they managed to do that this time around. Apart from Smriti, anything which really caught your eye, rather?
Well, on the downside, I would say Richa and Deepti going first ball. I think, we sort of promoted Richa to come in at the back end and do her job. And she has done for the last two games, but it kind of shows that, you have to start from zero, whatever your score may be in the last game. And that really tells you about what cricket really is as a sport. So, yeah, Deepti is one of my favorite players. So it was painful to see her go out on zero. But yeah, look, I think Smriti really, really stood out. But we've got to recognize that our other batters need to step up as well. Everyone's part of this 11 to contribute.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about the batting in depth in the first three watch-alongs, and you weren't there, so I'd be curious to pick your mind about certain positions that we've already spoken about. And it's a divided sort of house here in terms of where Richa Ghosh should bat for India. We saw, of course, being propelled up the order today. And, of course, generally she's been batting 3 down. What do you think her best position is, if there is a best position for her, rather?
You're talking about Jemmy, right?
No, Richa Ghosh.
Richa. Well, I think she.
Sorry. Up to bowler. Sorry, not bowler. 2 down, and Renuka Thakur, of course, basking in great form right now. She just conceded the odd run, and Ireland already in a whole heap of trouble. Rather go on, carry on, and tell me where you think Richa Ghosh should bat for India.
Well, I think she fits into the finisher role, especially given the kind of talent we have that can come in above her. It's also nice to see that she can sort of get promoted depending on when the previous wicket falls, coming in with 4 overs left or coming in with 5-6 overs to go. I think she is a finisher role given the other players around her in the setup right now. But in the women's IPL, we might see her get more batting chance, given the kind of strength and the skill that she possesses.
And of course, she's going to bat for Bangalore, so she'll definitely get to bat, right, Avnish?
I mean, essentially, we have so many options in RCB right now. It's not even funny, even though I've not seen them play for RCB as yet. But I can already think that Richa Ghosh won't be batting in number 3 for
I think we are
RCB.
talking about Smriti so much. I think today's Jemmy's contribution was also good.
Yes.
19 of 12
Actually,
balls. Yeah.
everybody in our office over here, we were discussing of her. Jemmy will not bat today.
Yeah, but then she came and she used today she used the ground well, I guess.
Yeah.
So her contribution, that 19, if she wouldn't have made, I think we wouldn't have been crossing even 135 or so.
Correct.
So her contribution was also good. Coming from the game which we had last
Yeah.
night, she didn't have a good run, and then she contributed today well. So I think that's a good positive sign.
That is of course.
And where she wasn't batting on her natural position.
Mhm. And of course, you can draw solace from that Pakistan game where she got, of course, India over the line with that 50 more than anything else. 1 second, I was just kind of distracted with the last ball kind of trickling away for 4. So Ireland will pick up a boundary, and it is, of course, 5 for 2 after 1 over. Next, I just want to ask you about the change that India made today with Radha being left out and Devika being dropped back in. What's the thinking there? Because India have been chopping and changing right through this tournament. Is it a good sign?
I guess
That was an
Radha was
Forced. Oh, it was a
forced
forced change. Sorry, my bad. There was not
She
any
was
sort of
unwell.
tactical thing
She
about
was
it.
Yes,
unwell.
she was
She was unwell.
Okay, let me ask you another question then. What's the whole stance in Rajeshwari Gaikwad, Nix? Because are we just kind of shoehorning in her because of experience, or do you think there could be someone else who could come in, do her role, maybe improve us in all facets of the game?
I think she was among the wickets not too long ago.
Mhm.
The problem, as we've discussed in the past as well, is I don't know if we can call it random usage, but the usage to me is the problem in terms of how she has been used in the past. Hopefully, again, this is the game where I feel left arm spin has struggled Ireland a lot. So very keen to see how she's used here. But again, what you have to keep in mind is the conditions are going to age pacers, which we can evidently see with the wind as well. So
Yeah.
India will want to probably bowl the pacers earlier, and then again you are effectively pushing down someone like a Gaikwad much behind in the pecking order. That okay, you are bowling probably post the power, not in the power play, probably 8-9 overs later. So that
Yeah.
is something that we'll have to be just mindful of. I think entire India's campaign has been very. It doesn't give you a vibe that it's like in control. There are so many things that are like one game it's working, the other game it's not. The other game something else is working. So the fluency is probably missing. It's probably like the Mandana innings today. Just
Yeah.
sums it up that you've had that luck. You had one great finish in the first game, but otherwise it hasn't quite looked convincing. So there isn't much time, but I think the win today should at least settle that nerves if there are any. And then after that England game, this win is important. So Gaikwad will be key going forward because we've seen how the pitches have aided this kind of bowling. So the
Hmm.
tired pitches will definitely help her, but the usage will again have to be very important.
Yeah, I think important points that you make. Oni Narayan in the comments. Keep your comments coming through, by the way. Of course, Monday evening, I know all you guys must be returning from work and all of that. But there's a game to watch, and there are comments, and there's a conversation as always in cricket.com. Oni Narayan going on to say it was poor batting display, I'm guessing. If any of those miscasters of Mandana got caught, we would have been a poor total. We got lucky. Do you echo those thoughts rather with Oni? I mean, it's almost a flattering scoreline for India if you take away Mandana's 87.
Yeah, I think Uni's kind of spot on in this case. And if we're supposed to have a batting innings like this, we get it out of our system before we reach the knockouts. Of course, we need to win this one to get into the knockouts. But yeah, I think as Nick's mentioned as well, we seem to do something right, and we think we know that. And the next game, we're like, okay, where's that gone? So we really need to sort of, no team can be taken lightly. I think we saw that with the tournament opener, Sri Lanka, getting the better of South Africa there as well. So it's important for us to be 110% concentrating, regardless of whether our opposition is making their World Cup debut or if they're 5-time world champions. I think you go in with the same mentality.
Yeah, I second that absolutely to the T. Let me just ask you both. The fact that it's the inevitable four that we're seeing again in Women's World Cup tournaments pop up before India, England, Australia, now New Zealand, most likely.
New Zealand and South Africa.
South Africa, I know they still have a chance, but New Zealand are maybe just like.
South Africa has no chance
I mean,
because if they win a game,
okay.
they will be through to the semis.
But do you really think that they can win that game?
Yeah.
Do you
They are
think so?
playing against South Africa.
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Yeah.
So do you think South Africa will be the fourth one who enter the semi-finals?
That's right.
Okay, so it'll be Australia, South Africa. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
Australia,
India, Australia, and England, South Africa. Is there any hope?
About?
The semi-final against Australia?
I mean,
This is a chance, not a hope now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance.
It's a chance more than hope.
Yes, it's a
100%
chance.
need to take them because it's very unlikely that England will get beaten by.
Yeah, but like, don't we expect obviously Australia come out all guns blazing, but I think we need like someone to play a worldie to take us over the line. Similar like what we saw with Harman when we knocked Australia out in that 50-over World Cup in England. Then once everyone blew them out of the water. Do you think that can happen in the semi-final, or do you think again it's Australia and we're just like
No. I think that can happen because if you see how our tournament has progressed so far, we are yet to get that one big knock from Harman. So if we can get that again in this semi-final, we will be good. And we were playing very decently. It's not that we are missing out on many things. Obviously, there will always be a chance of improvement in every game that we play. But it's not that we can't beat Australia in any given day. Just that if we come out together as a unit, if you see today, like you were speaking, right? If we take out Smriti's inning, there wouldn't have been this much of score. So if even not everyone, 2 or 3 batters come up and then they score big, I think we have a good chance because we have that bowling unit to restrict them.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what my take. And I feel just now that instead of Pooja, they should have bring in Shikha Pandey because considering the breeze and the wind that they had,
Yeah.
Shikha would have gotten more assistance from the pitch.
Hmm.
So I'm not
Do you
sure.
agree with her?
I see. The thing is, like, if you want to beat Australia, you have to be at your best.
Correct.
At your best, and that is, it completely depends on what on that day. Like, if you give your best, it's obvious that yes, you can go through.
Hmm.
Like, even if you falter, probably somewhere, even if you are not 10% there, then you're gonna lose it. At any cost, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how they play on that day.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like, yeah, if you want that Smriti has to come good, your seniors have to come good.
Yeah.
There's no other go at all.
Hmm.
So that is one thing, because Australia is one team which you can't take like you not even take lightly. I can't even say lightly. Like, it's a team full of powerhouse.
Yeah.
Even if Renuka gives you a good start, it's not gonna be enough until you get it.
Yeah.
Like what
And
happened
we
against
saw
England.
we saw that against England where they got 3 quick wickets, but
Yeah.
still the England batters could really arm wrestle the contest in their favor. I just want to ask Nix and Radha if there are any weaknesses that this Australia team have that you guys have seen in this tournament. What is it? Please tell me there's one, Radha. Surely there's one.
Well, they're not good at losing. That might be their weakness. They're serial winners. Their weakness could probably just be not being good enough on the day, and that comes down to the opposition having like a golden day, right? And I think as for India playing Australia in the semi-final, we've beaten them in the semi-final before. We've never beaten them in a World Cup final. So honestly, just by like stats and superstitions, I'd take them in the semi-final. Just have that wondrous knock by someone or like a fifer by Renuka once again. Then head to the final, and then it's like anybody's game all of a sudden, because if you've beaten Australia, you can climb Mount Everest. So I think Australia really, really have got their act together. Their weakness will probably come if we can beat them or match them on temperament. I think skill-wise, power-wise, strength-wise, many teams are catching up, but temperament is where they really lead. So it's going to be key for us to catch them there.
Temperament's an important facet of any sport, Nix. Do you agree with Radha? Because let's face it, we'll almost have all these guys kind of things come to the fore, right? The spacers, the spinners, the batters, and still it might not be enough. It comes down to pressure and temperament, right, Nick?
Yeah, and it's also down to the experience and to know what to do. We've seen that in the past against Australia as well. We've had them in trouble, be it with the Commonwealth Games. And there have been many examples in the past. So you've had them on the mat. But the thing with Australia is because they've been there and done that enough, they know how to get out of that situation. And that is something that India will have to be very mindful of, that against Australia, you can't take the foot off the gas. If you are on top, you have to just go for the kill. You can't think that let me get the 5th over now. If you have them 3 down, don't bowl Shefali the 9th over and think that okay, let me get 1 over extra here and save somebody for the end. So you have to beat them at their game, and their game is the best game. As we've said this in the previous watch alongs as well. Because what Australia is, you have to have your best day. There are no two ways about it. If you're not at your best, Australia will find a way to bite you. Because just look at the way Talia Megra batted the previous game. I mean, it almost looked like they're having nets. they are that are far ahead in terms of how they want to play. And the thing is, it is often a mental thing. They scare you so much in the mind that you feel that, dude, they have Thailand Megara batting at number 7. How do I going to get them out? So just 3 wickets won't do. You'll have to continuously take wickets, and then you have to do that with the bat as well. So
Yeah.
they don't have a weak link of sorts. You have Shoot Brown who use the pace and swing well. Then you have Gardner, you have Wareham, you have. Imagine Australian side, Alan King hasn't done anything so far, and yet
Yeah.
they sit so comfortably that without 2 or 3 of their best performing, they're still in such a good position because that's how good the system and the structure is. So let's get there. And on that day, let's pray we have the Harmanpreet Kaur Day twice in the knockouts, and that should be enough.
And it's not, they're not unbeatable. Even in the last year World Cup, in our opening game, we defended 130. That
Correct.
shows like, okay, fine, we can do that. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to be 100%. No matter, there's no point at any point you're not coming from 100 to 99.9.
No, absolutely. I think the margin of error when you play sides like Australia, like Radha and Nix have been alluding to, is quite ridiculous and scary. From an Indian perspective, I should say. Asavati Jaiswal, I think you're a new subscriber. I'm hoping a subscriber, I'm guessing. But it's good to see your comment saying even a 5 about Renuka didn't help against England. I mean, we kind of just spoke about that right now, which is pretty crazy. I mean, 5 for 15, which is the best figures by either a male or female in a World Cup. And it was sad to see it was the losing side. Just if you guys are joining us, Ireland losing 2 wickets. They're 9 for 2, 3.3. So keep your comments coming through. And of course, Vaishali, Anirudh, Nix, and Radha will answer them for you all. I just want to ask you guys what's caught your eye this tournament so far, because every World Cup we'll see 1 or 2 things which really stand out, not just from an India perspective, but generally as well. Anything that you guys have liked? Vaishali, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the performances so far, like we have seen some quite good performances. Even Muniba Ali scoring 100, that was a good thing.
That was brilliant. No?
Yeah, and Renuka taking a 5-er. So if I talk about from India's perspective, Renuka taking a 5-er, then some good innings from Smriti Mandhana, Jemima's 50 against Pakistan. So those kind of performances have actually been very good so far, and I think all the teams have been competitive. South Africa lost in their first match to Sri Lanka. Then Ireland beating Australia in the warm-up match. It was also a great this thing. So I think the way men's T20 World Cup went last time, I think you can say it's a similar kind of thing. Any team can beat any team on the given day. Obviously, barring Australia because that hasn't happened yet. I hope that happens too. So I think the way this competition has gone, competitiveness was much higher than any other T20 World Cup. I would like to say that.
I mean, if our friend Gurkirat was here or if he's watching, he would say T20 is a fickle game, which he should really get a T-shirt and embed it on that T-shirt. I'll come to the boys in just a bit. Radha, you mentioned it earlier. The South Africa, Sri Lanka game caught your eye, which was what went down to the wire with 3 runs. Any other moments of madness / magic that you've seen in this World Cup?
Yeah, so South Asian supremacy, I mean, that clearly, I'm a big fan of that. I will actually sort of touch upon, and I'm sure you've touched upon this in previous watch-alongs, apart from some standout innings from various individuals. What was interesting for me was the Women's Premier League auction that took place bang in the middle of the group stage, and the interviews of players coming out. Sorry?
It was just a small distraction, nothing big.
Nothing too major. just people's paychecks on the line. But yeah, that for me was something that we'll probably never ever see again. We will never see an auction where people make and break their sort of financial careers to an extent in the middle of a high intensity World Cup. So for me, that was in equal parts fascinating, as well as I feel for the people who maybe didn't get a bid or were at playing a match or in the nets and had to submit their phones away, because it really takes a toll on you. You'll be the highest level of professional athlete. This is a game changer for you, for your families, and for the generations coming after you. So yeah, for me, the way the teams dealt with that, I'm wondering if they scheduled it on India's off day, because our team seemed to have a great watch along and enjoy that, and the English really were having a bit of trouble there. So that for me was interesting.
obviously know that they've of course scheduled it that day because look, it's a BCCI brainchild this, so they'll obviously play it to those cards, but they'll never kind of put it out in the public. But good comments. That Akash Sivasubramanian, good to see you, man. I mean, I was hoping to see you in office, but you've not come in. That's basically one of our colleagues, guys. I know this guy. Time for Deepti Supremacy, goes on to say. Meanwhile, Shikha Pandey, where Vaishali's been calling for, has come in the attack, and straight away there was a wide. There's a little bit of movement, but no worries. I think Shikha might. Ooh, upish. Straight to mid off nearly. So is it time for Deepti Supremacy? I mean, we asked this question even earlier, right? Is India's most valuable player right now in women's Deepti Sharma? Ani?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Deepti and Smriti, they are the most valuable ones now.
Okay.
Probably Richa is somewhere reaching to that point.
So-
She's reaching to
So
that
does
point.
Deepti have the edge because she does all
Yeah,
these things?
she's good in like two departments.
Mhm.
Like obviously, an all-rounder is your best asset.
Yeah.
In any format, your all-rounder is your best asset. So obviously, like even Nikhil would say yes. Even
No,
in
I know
fantasy
Nikhil
terms,
and
he will
Radha.
say
Yes.
Nikhil and Radha are probably
Both
the
of them
biggest
will say
fans of
yes.
Deepti Sharma. Let me ask you this: does Deepti Sharma walk into any T20 women's side in the world
Yeah.
right now?
So in my team, yes, definitely,
Mhm.
always.
So even when they were like she was alluding to the WPL auction, were teams thinking that maybe Deepti Sharma is that kind of player where you can build your team around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely do, and good to see she's going to UP
UP
Warriors.
visit.
And I think UP is kind of trying to build the team around her, because if you see
UP
UP's
Warriors. Sorry, why do I keep saying Wizards? Sorry,
Yeah,
Warriors.
so if you saw their strategy,
Yeah.
you would have found that they earlier they bid for every other player who was coming, and then they started bidding for all the foreign players. First, they bought all the foreign players, and then they tried to build a strong squad along.
They have like a five spin attack option or something
Yes.
like that. It's quite
Sophie
ridiculous.
Eccleston,
Sophie
then Deepti
Eccleston.
Sharma. They have an
They have,
awesome.
yeah,
all
they
those
have
guys.
three more names. It's quite
Yeah.
ridiculous. But like coming to you, Deepti fans over here, I should say. I mean, we spoke about it earlier, Nick, and just want to ask you again. Yes, she of course delivers the ball, but is she being wasted with a bat? Do you get that impression?
I think her role in this T20 setup has been debated enough.
Yeah.
Like, what is the right entry point for her? Where should she bat? And of course, we've talked about this in detail in the past as well. I think it needs more clarification. I think the team looks at her like a safe bank, that if
Yeah.
nobody else saves us, then Deepti is the last option. So hold her back as much as you can and only
Yeah.
send her. It's like the engineering code. If and only if you need Deepti, then you send Deepti. I hope that, I think, has to change because she can be used much better. Again, this tournament, the conditions also haven't been that great for people to just come in and hit, which we've seen every team struggle, in this tournament because of the kind of pitches that we've played on. So, in that sense, you can understand why that they don't want to push her up, because they have enough options, and already the people who are batting up top are taking too much time. And Deepti is also someone who at times does take her time and maybe finds the fielders a lot. So in that sense, I think it is okay now. Can't say anything else because Richa is doing a fair job. So I think that should be left untouched. I just wanted to add to the couple of moments that for the World Cup, I think
Sure.
Muniba Ali's century was probably for me the knock of the World Cup so far, because it was the ease with which she was batting. Javera Khan at the other end was like she's struggling to get some fluency, but Muniba was getting hitting the ball wherever she wanted. And
Yeah.
it wasn't as if, not like Mandana today, that she needed luck or something. It was pure skill, toying with the field. They bring mid off up, she goes over mid off. They get point in, she goes and cuts behind point. So I think, and also it was because it was Muniba Ali. Maybe it is talked about a lot more. But to
Yeah.
hit your first T20 turn for your country in a World Cup game, I think it was great to see that. So I think that was one moment. Deepti Sharma dismissing two set batters. Of course, Deepti has to be there in a favorite moment of the World Cup. So I think Deepti doing that versus West Indies, I think, was a very pivotal moment. And I think that Gardner 5 wicket all right at the start, I think that was very scary to start the tournament. Ali, dude, this is a crushing win. I mean, she's just coming and taking wickets for fun, and of course she's in Gujarat, but I'll take that as a favorite moment.
No, some girl wants to really choose and ponder back and look at the highlights of what Nick was referring to. By the way, we were speaking about Deepti. She's into the attack and she's been welcomed by a reverse sweep, funnily enough, for four. Uni Naran going on to say, I would even let Deepti to start. I think she's smart enough to help us get a good score. I think even Vikram Mohanty said she's a combination of Jadeja and Ashwin, and she's pretty much a player that who's very tricky. Rather, I want to ask you about Deepti Sharma's breed in terms of someone who can bat and bowl spin. It seems like India have a lot of options in that regard. Do you think they can draw inspiration out of a player like Deepti, and maybe everyone kind of take a page out of a book where they literally all do their jobs in all three departments? I know it's easier said than done, but can we produce maybe 2 or 3 Deeptis, or is that wishful thinking?
I don't know about this generation, but the new generation is looking to Deepti as a player they want to be. And the fact with Deepti is that she does everything right and goes unnoticed, and then one slip up and everyone's like, oh yeah, we should have sent her earlier, we should have sent her later. And that's the kind of player who you then realize has been contributing to you so consistently that you just expect that from her at all times. I mean, it's difficult enough to sort of be undecided on where you're going to bat every innings of your life. She's just sitting there, no idea when they're going to say, okay, go do your thing. So yeah, I think a massive respect for Deepti. I think a lot of youngsters realize the kind of contribution she can bring. Her IPL bid, Women's Premier League bid as well, sort of reflected that fact. And I think, yeah, for Deepti, I just don't want her to age. If that's possible, if I could put one player in a cryogenic chamber, it's going to be Deepti for me.
I mean, this is basically a comment coming through right now. Avnish Radha is a Deepti stan. She'll give you content for years. Go on. I mean, it's music to all our ears, especially Nick's as well.
Because, it's the kind of role that's often taken for granted, as she rightly pointed out. Yeah. It is not respected because it's almost taken for granted that she'll do it. And that is something, as I said, it's actually not helped the side as well, because she's come in and done that job too often, too regularly, and she's still gone unnoticed. So hopefully, I think people are waking up to that fact about how good she is. So more of that in UP maiden title would be great.
Over there. I mean, it's almost like, I know she kind of bowls, she's not the quickest spinner in the world, and you bowl spin, of course. So just give me a little bit of a masterclass in terms of what she is doing differently than the other off spinners in the world.
You don't have to be quick. You don't have to be that quick to succeed. It's just that in your brain, like how you play with the batsman.
Correct.
It's like how Ashwin does. Ashwin just doesn't bowl those magical deliveries.
True.
He just
his
sits
ability
on
to read the batsman.
Yeah, he just sits on your head. Like as a batsman, he sits on your head. He knows, okay, fine. If he has gone for 24 runs, he knows, okay, fine, he's gonna go for the same thing, or he's gonna try something else, and he's ready for it. So that is what makes you a successful spinner. Even for a seamer, it's just that, okay, fine, you have a lot of time, okay, you can do something. But as for a spinner, you need to see like when he's advancing down, what he's trying to do, when he's trying to change his grip for a reverse sweep or a switch hit. You have like around 2 seconds of time to just judge it from the jump to your release. So that is where you have to be very good. So in that section, yes, if you succeed in that section without irrespective of your speed or anything, you can succeed in any conditions.
So it comes down to basically her being a thinking cricketer, and I think that's been well documented. And even generally, the way that she outwits the batsman is there to see. By the way, Ireland 44 for 2, so they've really recovered after those early hiccups. The 6 overs done, the power play done. It makes me think about India's power play, and there's always something going on in the 4 games that India have batted. I know this is the first time they batted first. Today they were 42 for none after 6 overs. Would you take that, especially with that? I know Shefali and Priti was still not out, but still.
Generally, I won't, but considering today's condition, the pitch was difficult to bat on, and they were trying to settle down. Even like I mentioned earlier, Smriti was struggling to.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good example because as you were trying to describe the wind, we just saw pictures of the bales being kind of just going off themselves thanks to the wind. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so like the way we were mentioning earlier, if you drill down Smriti's inning, you will find that till 50, she wasn't able to score very fluently. But then after she realized how to hit, how to make the shot selections right, and then she did it. So considering how the wicket behaved today, yeah, we can take that score. But otherwise, if both of them are not out and 42, I think with Shefali being there, I generally won't take it. I'll be like at least 50-55 is what you expect from them.
If
So,
we have lost, if we haven't lost a wicket, no,
then
I
obviously
guess
50-55. Yeah.
at least 50 would have been a good score because both of them are like those hitters.
Yeah.
They can score at 120, 130 easily.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
And especially in this tournament, if you see, we have not seen the best of Shefali so far. She's trying to hit the ball too hard. She's trying to hit the ball which is going way outside off. So that is something she's trying to do, but which is not, coming together nicely.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen the best of her so far, the way we have seen in the under-19 World Cup and the way we have seen so far from Shefali.
Yeah.
So that is also one of the concerns because Smriti has to take all the pressure and put the balls away for the boundaries and all. So I think if Shefali comes good, if she plays a natural game without taking any extra pressure, we might get to that 55-60 which we are talking about if there is no wicket lost.
And boy, I wish that comes against Australia. I want it all be to save her. Rather, I just want to, of course, draw your attention to certain comments that we received in the previous watch along who were heckling India's middle order in terms of their strike rates and the middle overs being the real saturation point over there. What do you make of that? And do you think people are being too harsh from the outside, judging India on their conservative approach?
I think if you're being too harsh, you expect more. If you expect more, it means that the team is capable of that. So in that sense, I'm happy that, the team has the potential to do something that people are expecting, and expectations means viewership, the whole broader angle. I mean, I love that. I think as for the more micro approach to it, you're going to always have criticism. We're in a group with we play 2 good games and we get England, and then we lose by just a handful of runs, and then obviously everything, the whole avenue opens up for this could have been better, that could have been better, and that is the fact. The fact also is that we're playing world-class teams, so it's not very easy to do everything right all the time in one game. I think the approach should be do your things right, get your basics right, and ensure that you do the best you can to see your team in a winning position. So look, strike rates can always be better. Who wouldn't love 160 instead of 150? It's that kind of a thing. So for strike rates, it's a difficult metric as well because you've got a lot of conditions around it. Depends what kind of a pitch it is, what kind of bowlers it is, what kind of form you're coming in with. Like, for Shefali also, I think that she got a haircut after the Under-19 World Cup, and that's been the turn of form before the Senior World Cup. So I really, really, really wish that she had kept that hairstyle for a couple more weeks. But look, I'm hoping it's all just jitters getting out in the group stage, and we come together as a unit and click when it comes to the semi-final, if we make it there.
Fingers crossed indeed. Vikram Mohanty going on to say, Harman, the batter is very inconsistent. He's going off in that rant again, Nick, from the last watch along. We got to really get a hold of this Vikram man and kind of address it. But look, we'll obviously address that question. What do you have to say?
I think Harman will answer in the next match.
Not this match?
How will she answer now? It's already
with
done
her tactical changes as a captain.
So he's arguing that changes are fine. As a captaincy is fine. Only the batting is what is concerning him. So I think next match is Harman's match.
Okay. Just going back to Radha before we get Nixon, Akash, I'm saying, sorry, Anirudh over there. Harmanpreet, ever since she's taken over the captaincy role, has it kind of weighed on her? Is that evident from the outside? Or again, are we nitpicking for no rhyme or reason?
A role like that is going to weigh on you. I think she's taken on the role very well. She was a natural successor to the previous captains, and she is the most experienced. You see her stats, you see her records, and she's got the numbers on her side. It definitely will weigh on you. It's a lot of added responsibilities, not just going out and flipping a coin, right? Captaincy is so much more than that, on the field as well as the 3 rest days that you have in the middle of each game. So, her 171 knock and a couple of other 100 she's got in the World Cups has been so huge that we're still carrying that legacy on. But I agree with the fact that it's time for another massive knock to come her way. And I hope it comes, in the next game.
Yeah, it's a law of averages. Hopefully that works in Harman's favor, and hopefully against Australia in a semi-final. We've seen that before in 2017. I know, albeit the different format. Right, Rajeshwari Gaikwad's on, Karnataki Kishan, of course, and all of that stuff. 49 for 2, 7.1. Rajeshwari Gaikwad, just talk to me about the wind, boys, Nix and Anirudh. We just saw bales falling off not once, but twice. We know it's the sea breeze because it's Port Elizabeth and all of that. Is it better for the Pacers? Would you stick with that ploy, or would you throw it to the slow bowlers?
It depends on which end you're doing,
Okay.
which end you're bowling. If you're a Renu crossing,
Mhm.
yes, obviously, when it's blowing in towards the right-hander, she would love to bowl from that end.
Yeah.
So now for Rajeshwari Gaikwad, again, if she's getting spin, then she would love to bowl from the end where the breeze is towards her right side, so that she gets the drift to deceive the batsman. Like it depends on
The
from
wind,
which
wind,
end
yeah.
from which end the breeze is swinging in.
Okay.
So it's kind of that way. And also, like if a batter is good to get towards your leg side, then yeah, like why not?
Yeah, I think Nick's made that point where Smriti Mandhana utilized the wind in her advantage. So let me ask you this, Nick, before I just read out Akash's comment. Akash will just get back to the Irish cricketer that you're referring to right now, who's unlucky, of course. Next, coming back to the whole breeze thing, is it an advantage for a batter or disadvantage for a batter, or advantage for a bowler, disadvantage for a bowler? I mean, how do you read it?
So I think it's very subjective, and as Anirudh said, it depends on a lot of factors. Whether you're trying to just rotate the strike, you can hit with the wind, chip it with the wind or against the wind as well, because you know it will not carry. The wind
Yeah.
actually affects the fielders far more. You can ask the Irish team today; they'll have 100 complaints about the wind. So it happens in many places, but it also tells you why all these small things are very important. That if there is a shorter leg side boundary, but the wind is against you, even if you hit it well, you could still get caught because the wind is not going to let the ball go to the fence. So there are like multiple factors that come into the picture, and which is why again probably only sport that is so dependent on any, like even you can whistle something and something can change. That is how intricate the game of cricket is. That something is going straight, do something, and entire Australia like sleeps. So sorry for that border Gavaskar thing here, but anything off the straight and many batters have trouble. So it is what it is. Can't do much about it.
Okay.
And
All right.
also, if you're a batter, it depends on your culture. If you are just that slogger, then bowlers will be okay, fine. She only slogs.
Yeah.
So what they do is okay, fine. They're happy to give you the single.
Yeah.
If you're batting against the wind, then yes, okay, I'll give you a single. You take the single.
And sometimes you can play on the ego of the batter, right?
Yeah.
The fact that maybe there's a shorter boundary and the wind is, of course, assisting you. I mean, you can really kind of get into mind games and whatnot. I'm just kind of peering down at the cricket.com app to check out the score, of course. Download the app, which is a great plugin, and there's plenty of content that way. What do you guys make of this partnership? Because right now, I know Ireland have not really threatened in the group stage. You mentioned that they beat Australia in the warm-ups. Can India lose from here, dare I say?
Don't say that.
No, right? No, I'm just saying the way Gabby Lewis and, of course, Laura Delaney are going about their business.
No, I
They're
think
kind of milking
this
it.
over we will get a wicket,
Okay.
and then we will be good.
I mean, if that really comes through, I mean, that'll be
that's so.
great. But next, rather, any sort of panic right now in the camp, or not to worry about anything, Bill? Rather?
Not panic so far. I think we're an experienced side to see this through. I'm impressed with the partnership though, being one run down for 2 wickets. I mean, that's not an ideal place to start. And coming up against a good Indian bowling attack.
interrupt you, Radha, because the umpires have had enough of this. I didn't even know. It's a storm.
India
It's
are ahead of the DL.
by 5 runs.
Yeah.
By 5 runs, we're ahead.
It's just a passing.
It's just a passing shower, is what our stats man tells us. And who knows, it could really be.
There
That's
is a
it.
there's a breeze which is like hitting at 43 kilometers.
43 kilometers an hour. Wow. I mean, he's right. Because I've never seen.
Oh, Mamma Mia.
Oh my God. I don't think we're having a game, guys. I honestly think we should all tune into some news channels right now and tell us what the hell's happening in South Africa, because that is not just a normal sort of rain thunderstorm that we've seen. I think Vaishali's Googling it.
Oh,
She's Googling it.
What's the 43 kilometers?
Dude, they
Yeah,
can't
they
even
will
put the sheets down. This is shocking. Like, sometimes we always see those sights in any cricket stadium with the flags kind of blowing and blustering along.
Yeah.
The flags also were just like being blown off the hook. It was quite ridiculous.
She was just keeping it like this, and it was just breezing on.
Okay, now I'm intrigued about the weather, so you guys can chat about cricket until I get back about this. Because look, the positive news is that India are 5 runs ahead, like Anirudh mentioned. So nothing to worry about that. We'll still probably pocket the 2 precious points, but I wouldn't mind if the match gets over right now, to be fair. I can enjoy an elongated dinner. I can enjoy India's 2 points. I can hope that Pakistan, out of all teams, spoil England's party and then we kind of go on top, even though the net run rate might not really side us in that case. But yeah, Nick, your thoughts on this? Does it help us? Happy Bala birthday, Vaishali, by the way. I don't know which one.
Thank you so much.
Happy Bala birthday. Happy birthday saying XRTYS8. Yeah, there's lots of love being shown in the comments. Keep your comments coming through and ask us what you need to ask us. I think Bharat Kotwani asked us a question. I'm sorry you couldn't take it earlier. I'll pose that to Radha and Nix right now. He's saying, if we have 170 to chase in the semi-final against Australia, can we do it? Yes or no? Radha?
Yep, we can.
Yeah, we can. There's nothing we can't do.
Okay. I mean, I didn't know if it was a straightforward answer or needed a little bit of supplement of facts and whatever. Nix, you don't seem that.
No, of course you can do it. We've done that. We saw that in the series that they played at home as well. So it's.
We might see a rainbow any kind of minute right now, because the previous image they showed us was like dark and gloomy from one side of the ground, and then the other side is just beautiful sunshine. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And they need to keep some weightage on those because it's going to fly off.
They were lying
For sure. Yeah, you wish we chased that thing only Ryan, to all of you guys.
So we can only wish. We can only wish before it happens. So
we can hope and we can try to do
I
that.
know Brabon and DY Patil was very good to bat on, but still it's not that easy to score 170 in almost all the games.
Yeah,
it's not that easy. So you need to consider that as well.
Yeah, but if Australia is going to score 170, you can also score technically, which is fine and fair. And all you need in World Cups are 2 good days. So I'm booking one for Shefali and one for Harmanpreet. That's all. We are good.
Probably after 20 World Cup final, in every match what India have played against Australia, they have given very good fight.
Yeah,
I'll take out that final. I'll take out that final because that was like a lackluster performance. I don't know about that. But after that, I've seen like every time we haven't lost huge. It's just that we couldn't handle the pressure probably at the end moment.
Yeah.
That is the only thing which was lacking. Probably now we have better depth and the experience of playing against them. So that should even 170 should be chased.
I completely agree. The fact that you just mentioned those points is something to draw inspiration from. And more importantly, guys, I just want to ask you, say Harmanpreet wins the toss that evening, right? I know it's conditions dependent and all of that, but generally, do you think India better chasing or defending? And tell me reasons why. We'll start again with Radha, Nix, then Vaishali, and then we'll come back to Anirudh. Chasing or defending?
There are arguments to both. I feel like just psychologically, when you have a target on board, you can figure out what to do. You don't have to like sort of scramble to send one person before the other. Also, with the T20s that happened in December versus Australia, coming back just quickly to that 170 chase, we made 181, it was not enough. We made 188, we went into a super over. We made 173, it wasn't enough. So we can score against these teams. It's just that they're scoring a bit more than us. So I think, when they set a 170, we know we can get a 170, and it's sort of just about pacing your innings accordingly. It'll be interesting with the conditions are obviously different in South Africa. We saw a storm just like sort of come out of nowhere. We would have liked to see a similar storm while we were batting in terms of, Shefali and Smriti hitting it around the park. But look, we can make the runs. There's no doubt about it. There was a time where we couldn't, but as I said, I think skill-wise, talent-wise, we've made it up to the top teams. It's just about temperament and patience and those softer skills that we need that sort of define a runners-up and a champion.
Nikhil Popat, do you concur with Radha?
Of course, which is why that's the beauty of cricket. You can debate all day about this is wrong, this is wrong. But the moment somebody says they can't do this, we'll all gang up and say, no, why they can do it? What are you talking about? They can definitely chase it. So it's everything. It's always going to be subjective, but it's how you want to look at it. You can look at it the positive way and look at it the negative way and be on the same side. Nothing is right, nothing is wrong. It's just perspective. Regarding what you want to do under pressure, I think normally I would say that it is easier to pace or knock under a pressure of chase because you still know the target. The thing with batting first is it's invariably the difficult part of cricket, especially in T20 cricket, because firstly, sometimes you don't get the conditions right, and sometimes you lose so much in the first six that even if you get the conditions right, you've lost 3/4 of your batters and your cream is gone out of the game. So
Yeah.
what I feel is you can have a bad start with the ball and still recover. But the same with the bat, I feel, is a lot more tougher and a lot more pressure game because then it is exactly down to those one or two individuals, and then there is no hope. But if it's with the bat, there is still like 4, 5, 6 resources that you can use differently and try and put the pressure on the other side again. So definitely you'll want to like chase, and even if it's a big chase, as Radha said, if they've got to 170, you don't need 180, 190 now. Which while batting first, you might have the thought that, yeah, this is Australia, I may need 190, I may need 200, but it might be a 160 wicket. So you could concede those 10 extra runs, but still be in a space that, okay, I still have it in me. And then I think the only reason why we hope of the chase being done is the resources that are there as compared to in the past. And
Yeah.
you hope that on the big day they are used in a manner that you send a puja early, you send a Deepti early, ask them to hit a few boundaries. Then your smaller tactics are the thing that will actually decide the bigger picture for you, and not just your big players up top. So hopefully they do that. We've talked them up quite a bit. So yeah, hopefully they will do what they can do best.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to hear from both of you. Also, obviously, you guys are in agreement in terms of both saying chasing. Let me pose the same question to both you guys in house right now, but more intricately. Say there is a situation in the semi final where we're chasing and it's 40 runs required of 21 with 5 wickets in hand. We have Richa and Pooja at the crease. We still have Dipti to come, right? Just saying. But vice versa, we're defending 40 of 21 and say Talia McGrath and Ashley Gardner there. Which situation would you want to play out on Saturday?
I think the chasing one.
The chasing one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be more comfortable with it because if you have Richa and Pooja still and Deepti to come, then definitely 21 or 40 is very manageable. Even with. Not that we can't defend it, we can defend it as well, considering. And before that, I would just like to say if we have a target to chase of 170, I think we have had a terrible day with the ball.
Yeah.
That I don't think so will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because 170, considering the line pace attack, the spin attack that we have now, looks very, very, like they're exceptionally played well.
Yeah.
That's when only 170 is possible. And we have seen all together in this tournament. I don't think so. 155 is the highest chase which we did it.
Correct.
We
Against
had it.
Pakistan.
But Saleh, I'll add on to that. But they have conceded 155 and 140 against West Indies and Pakistan.
West Indies is
I mean,
119.
That is what I said in the previous WATCHALONG,
Yes.
right? Because if you are conceding 150 and
Against West
140
Indies.
against West Indies and Pakistan, then you need to go back and see like what is
I
happening.
think the
Because
last game, what happened is you gave Deepti the 19th over and she kind of conceded 17 runs against two right hand batters and then the off spinner. So I think that call went wrong. Maybe that time that could have been a better. They could have better strategized this. But then I don't think so. 150 is. I get your point that you are conceding 140, 140
Exactly.
against West Indies and Pakistan, but that doesn't mean that 170 you will do against Australia.
I'm not saying
Oh,
that.
100%. I mean, there's another way to look at it, right? Obviously, what we did with England, early damage, but then we couldn't capitalize, and then they, of course, got the runs on the board. Even in that West Indies game, we bowled really well, and we pulled it back surprisingly really well in the 5 overs to restrict them to 119. Pakistan as well, they were, 68 for 4, and then thanks to Bisma
And Naseem.
and
Aisha
Naseem
Naseem.
to play out of their skin, they got to 149.
Exactly.
So
That
we
is what
can
I'm
we can
saying.
look at, of course, certain things and be like, sure, we could have conceded a little bit more. Just to finish up this chat, 3 of them are in consensus about chasing. Are you going to make 100%
I would,
case of it?
yes,
Chasing?
I would say chase. I do that.
And
The ones which they say like bat first and put runs on
On the
board,
board.
that is pressure.
Yeah.
That is outdated
That's
model.
not a
man.
good model.
Now teams like even in the 2021 World Cup, I guess Australia chased 170
Yeah.
with ease.
Correct.
With ease they chased it. So there is nothing as pressure or something like that. It's better. Like as Nikhil mentioned, I would absolutely second to that. If you have had a bad time with the ball in the first innings, you have the time to recover with your bat. At least you can do something, but you can't do if you have scored somewhere around. If you can't do anything if you score somewhere around 80, 90, 100.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the
impossible.
worst case scenario, but I'm saying even a par total, because I think one of the comments was saying, what if he had 150, 160, can be defended against a Australian team? Who knows? I mean,
I would say check the first match of 2020 World Cup. You'll get to know if India can defend that or not.
I mean, yeah, obviously the
137.
past is always there, but
And
when he goes
they
on to
can
say,
do that.
of course, I'm not denying that, but I'm just generally saying that this tournament, who knows what's in store. I don't want us to chase a game, far more confident defending a score, saying on Nina Ryan. So obviously people have different views on this. I would still agree with all you guys saying that we're far better chasing, purely because that's India's strength, and it gives me the impression this tournament that the batting depth that we have is good, but maybe we could probably maximize it and optimize it a little bit more. I mean, just coming back to this whole batting order and what is the ideal batting order, will you stick with the first five that we've had so far, rather? The fact that it's Smriti, Shefali, Jemima, Harmanpreet and Richa. They're not going anywhere. Or do you think maybe to maximize and get more out of that batting order, we can chop and change?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see the opening pair changing. Jemmy has mentioned before that she likes to play in the opening slot, but I think those two are very much taken by Shefali and Smriti. And the thing is, like today, 10 overs, no wicket loss, and then one goes, then you don't bring Jemmy in, right? You bring Harman in, because Harman has played a 3 before, she can accelerate a bit. And then Jemmy sort of gets lost at the back, because then you've got 5 overs to go, and then we think, well, we're going to get Richa, we're going to bring Deepti in after that. And then suddenly Jemmy is left with 1 over, which is the 19th over, right? Or the 20th over. So that is a little bit interesting there, because that basically shows that Jemmy's dropped 1 position. She's not just dropped 1, she's dropped about 3 positions down. So those top 5, the top 2, I don't see changing. And because the top 2 are fixed, it affects the number 3, 4, 5 and what they're going to look like. I think Richa has very well adapted to the role of send me in whenever captain, I'll be fine. I will serve you. But for the others, it takes a bit of time to figure out, okay, where the bowlers are at on the 16th over, as opposed to where they are on the 13th or on the 18th, and how I can capitalize on that. And I think that will come with experience as well.
Experience is the key, Next, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. And we've talked about this in the past as well, that it again still depends a lot more on if you feel that there is certain matchup that you want to take really good advantage of, and if you feel that no, just out of the blue I want to send a Radha Yadav, but then effectively you have to back your specialist. You have to show enough trust on them that I've taken them for a reason. They are there in the side to take wickets, let them take wickets. They are there in the side to score runs under pressure, let them do that. So just keep the game simple.
I mean, you mentioned the last watch along that safety first is the option, not just with the women's but the men's as well.
Yeah, that it's part of the system, it's part of the culture. You can't change it just randomly, because the thing is, as a society as well, we are not ready to change. We are very susceptible to accepting anything that's not in line with what we think about it. So the thing with it is why there is a debate every time you have a Pant getting out previously, trying to hoik a ball just before tea. You would have Rohit Sharma used to do the same before he was a permanent member of the side. That's the thing. It's the acceptance that this is how they play. It's okay to get out. For a guy to get out at the boundary is as same as for a guy to get out LBW. It can mean different things to different batters, and that acceptance is only going to come with time. So we will need more of Shefali Verma, you'll need more Richa Ghosh, and you'll need such players, you'll need Sophia Dunkley's to make this a normal thing, that it's okay to get out doing that, as long as you're sticking to a rule. Now, if tomorrow Smriti Mandhana comes out and plays 3 reverse sweeps and gets out, definitely you will scratch whatever hair you have left on your head, that why is she doing that? She's much better than this. So it's about sticking to your role and then doing it to the best of your execution, because that's all that you can control.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. Role definition, especially in any sport, especially in cricket as well. I mean, it's important because T20 is such a fickle format, like our good friend Deepti keeps hinting. Just give you a little bit of an update from the middle, because rain has stopped play. Ireland was supposed to be 59 after 8.2 overs. That was the DLS pass score, but they're 50 53 for 2 right now. 54 for 2, beg your pardon, after 8.2
5
overs.
runs behind.
And 30 minutes before we start losing overs. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll all kind of get a little small breather, and we'll come back as soon as the game resumes. And of course, we'll pick the mind of Radha, Nix, Vaishali, and Anirudh further. Until then, keep your comments coming through, and we'll join the stream again once we're back with the action. And yes, Oni, will take your questions as well. Jemima could be far useful opening batting. I don't know why we're not trying it. I mean, we'll discuss that and much more. Radha, Nix, we'll see you shortly. And guys, we'll just take a small little breather. Be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. Stick around for cricket.com for all the updates. See you guys in a bit.
India will reach to 6 points now.
Yeah, like
Bro, England are on 6 points. If they lose to Pakistan tomorrow and Pakistan hammer them, England will go below
like
no.
that.
Yeah. Oh, we're back on. We're just having a small little office quibble, which I'll alert you guys about. But I'll have to alert you. The big breaking news out from St. George's Park is the fact that India have clinched the points by 2. And of course, they've clinched the victory by 5 runs. Vaishali, how happy are you that India are now to the semi-finals?
I'm happy that finally we are into the semi-finals, but I'm a little disappointed. The game should have happened. We all were waiting for it. But yeah, happy that finally it is won. We won it, and then we are into the semi-finals. Obviously, we'll be facing Australia.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. But then I hope we have a good game and batters come together and we win it.
It's Thursday, which is the semi-final one. I kept saying Tuesday for this matches. Of course, you can take my word for it. Now, I want to ask Anirudh, in terms of India making the semi-finals, Ani, that was a given, right? Because, like I said, the 4 top teams in the world are India, Australia, England, New Zealand. I know New Zealand might not be there, it might be South Africa. But India making the semi-finals, now the big questions start to come to the fore, right?
Exactly. And to be very frank, India's group was fairly weak. Fairly weak. Because apart from England, they didn't have that much of competition.
True.
Because Ireland, Pakistan, and West Indies. And with these 3 teams in your side, I mean, in your group, if India couldn't make it to the semi-final, that wouldn't have made any sense at all.
Yeah.
So obviously they had to make it. Now, year 1 of shot begins now.
Yeah.
You have to be, from here on, there's no room for mistakes.
Yeah.
There's no room for small childish errors. There's nothing actually. Like, if you have a plan A, then you need to have a plan A plus.
Correct.
So
Especially,
that is, it starts now.
Yeah.
The preparation starts now for them.
And whatever they've learned in the last 4 games will, of course, give them some sort of, I don't know, measurement to draw. The fact that, yes, they chased thrice. Yes, they batted first today. But let's see how it all unfolds in terms of Australia out there. There's England, Pakistan. And what I was joking with, of course, Vaishali and Anirudh, the fact that England, I mean, in all honesty, are going to be topping the group. Make no mistake about it. But I just read some random guy on Twitter who said England, if they bat first tomorrow and get out for 50, let's presume, Pakistan, our beloved neighbors, have to do us a favor and chase that down in 4 overs. That would mean India will top the group. England will play Australia. It's not going to happen. So let's just put that to bed. And on that funny note, let's just end the watch along as well, because all you guys have been, of course, shouting your comments. We'll take those in just a bit because, of course, Radha joins us right now. And Radha, how happy are you with that news transpiring out from the middle? More importantly, the last 4.
Yeah, look, I think we've had some good luck with rains and T20 World Cup. So I'm not surprised that luck has come our way again. Obviously, would have liked to see the match out. It's always nice to get that official proper win under your belt. So, you get some momentum going into the next game, but nobody's going to be sad to sort of get that 2 points, and sort of have a extra couple of hours of rest and then put your feet up and prepare for the next game.
Are you worried about anything in particular heading into that Australia game? Because I know Smriti's got runs, Shefali showed glimpses, Harman's been a worry, Jemima has been blowing hot and blowing cold. Any other obvious signs that India really need to tighten before they meet Australia?
I think our bowling is something that we kind of need to fix. I think, as Vaishali mentioned a bit earlier as well, sometimes giving the ball to the wrong bowler at the wrong time could result in 19 runs or 20 runs being leaked, right? And I think with Australia, if you do anything 99.5%, as mentioned before, you're going to get punished for that. So as a whole, I am worried going into this, but you have to be worried. Otherwise, you don't care about it enough. You have to feel that pressure. Otherwise, you really, you're not in it to win it. So the team's going to be feeling that pressure as well, but you live for high-stakes situations like this, and it'll be sweet to get another semi-final victory over Australia.
Yes.
It will. It honestly will. Listen, Radha, thank you so much for your debut today, even though it was a curtailed one, and then you came back for a cameo, which was really impressive. So we'll see you, of course, on Thursday. And, of course, more from Radha. You guys can follow her on Twitter. She just started following me, by the way. I have to put that on. It's not very often I get followers, but she, of course, is giving me a follow. Follow cricket.com as well. And Radha, with that, we'll say bye to you. And, of course, thanks, Vaishali, as ever, and Anirudh for, of course, lending his time in this watch along on a Monday, which of course saw the Blues win by 5 runs. It's the 2 precious points, which of course take us into the semi. And mark your calendars, Thursday 6:30, Australia v India. I know it's Australia definitely, and of course India
By the
too.
way, last year, India went through to the finals with the rain, but they do not have that privilege as well this year.
Yeah, and we keep saying that we keep losing Australia in the finals. Maybe this is the chance. When we aren't facing them in the finals, semi-final is the chance where we can do it.
Okay.
And I am hopeful that we can do it.
I mean, we've seen stranger things happen before, of course. I love the fact that this a stats man's talking about weather for the chances to kind of go through. That's how we're really hoping in terms of the result going our way on Thursday. Like I said, join us then. Thanks so much for watching. And of course, the love you guys have been showing us throughout the Women's World Cup is brilliant. And all of Vaishali's fans, wish her in the comments below. It's a great happy birthday, of course, and great happy days for the Indian women's cricket team. I'm Deepti Sharma. It's a goodbye from all of us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Cheers.